Imagine being dragged through the streets in your most shameful moment. Every person staring at you, every eye filled with judgment, every voice ready to condemn you. The religious leaders of the entire city gathered around you with stones in their hands, ready to end your life. And you know you have no defense. You know what you did. You know what the law says. And you know there is no way out. This is the moment described in John chapter 8. One of the most powerful, most dramatic, and most unexpected encounters in the entire Bible. A woman caught in sin, a crowd ready to stone her, and then Jesus. And what he does next is something nobody in that crowd saw coming. Something that changed everything. So let us walk through this story together, because there is a truth here that every single one of us needs to hear today. It was early in the morning. Jesus was sitting in the temple courts teaching the people who had gathered around him. The atmosphere was peaceful. People were listening. Then suddenly the religious leaders, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, burst into the scene, dragging a woman with them and throwing her down in front of the crowd. They said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses commands us to stone such a woman. Now what do you say?" Now, before we go any further, we need to notice something important about this moment. The law of Moses said that both the man and the woman caught in adultery should be brought forward, but only the woman was dragged into the street. The man was nowhere to be seen, which tells us immediately that this was never really about justice. This was a trap. These religious leaders did not care about the woman or about the law. They were using her pain and her shame as a weapon to try to catch Jesus in an impossible situation. If he said stone her, he would appear to contradict his message of mercy and love. If he said let her go, he could be accused of breaking the law of Moses. Either way, they thought they had him. They were wrong. Jesus did not answer immediately. He did not panic. He did not argue. He simply bent down and began writing in the dust with his finger. The crowd watched. The religious leaders kept pressing him. "What do you say? What do you say?" And he just kept writing. Nobody knows for certain what he wrote in the dust that day. Some believe he was writing the sins of the men standing around him. Others believe he was writing the specific clauses of the law they were violating by only bringing the woman. Whatever it was, it made the crowd deeply uncomfortable. Then Jesus stood up and said the words that have echoed through history for 2,000 years. "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And then he bent back down and kept writing. The silence that followed must have been one of the most powerful silences in all of human history. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And then one by one, beginning with the oldest and working down to the youngest, every single accuser quietly dropped their stone and walked away, until there was nobody left. Just Jesus and the woman, standing alone in the middle of the temple court. Jesus stood up and looked at her, and he asked, "Where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you?" She looked around at the empty space where a crowd of men with stones had been standing just moments before, and she said, "No one, sir." And Jesus said, "Then neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin." Let us stop here for a moment, because these two sentences contain some of the most beautiful and most important theology in the entire New Testament. Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Notice the order of those statements. Jesus did not say, "Stop sinning first, and then I will not condemn you." He did not make his grace conditional on her behavior. He gave her the grace first. He spoke the freedom first. He offered the forgiveness before he made the call to change. And that order matters enormously, because that is exactly how God's grace works. It does not wait until we have cleaned ourselves up before it reaches us. It reaches us in our mess, in our shame, in our most exposed and broken moment, and says, "Neither do I condemn you." And it is that grace, that unconditional and completely undeserved grace, that gives a person the power and the genuine desire to go and change their life. Now, let us also think for a moment about what this story reveals about the religious leaders who brought this woman. These were men who spent their entire lives studying the Word of God, men who knew the law inside and out, men who were considered the most spiritually devoted people in all of Israel. And they stood in the temple with stones in their hands, ready to destroy a broken woman, to score a point in a theological argument. They had all the knowledge and none of the love, all the law and none of the grace, all the correct doctrine and none of the compassion. Jesus exposed something deeply important in that moment. You can know everything about God and still have completely missed the heart of God. The Pharisees knew the rules, but Jesus was a reality the rules were always pointing toward. He was the one who could simultaneously uphold the full truth of the law and extend the full depth of mercy to the person the law condemned, because he alone had the authority to do both. He alone was without sin. He alone had the right to throw the first stone, and he chose instead to throw grace. Think about what this woman experienced in those few minutes. She walked into that moment completely exposed, completely condemned, and completely without hope. And she walked out of it completely free. Not because she deserved it, not because she had done anything to earn it, but because she encountered Jesus. And that encounter changed everything. This is the gospel in one story. This is what Jesus came to do, not to condemn the world, but to save it. John chapter 3 verse 17 says God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. The religious leaders came to condemn. Jesus came to save. The religious leaders came with stones. Jesus came with grace. And that grace was not soft or careless or indifferent to sin. He told her clearly to go and leave her life of sin. He took both her sin and her dignity seriously. He did not minimize what she had done, but he also refused to let her past be the end of her story. So what does this story say to you and me today? It says that wherever you are right now, whatever you have done, whatever you are carrying in shame and guilt and regret, you are not beyond the reach of Jesus. The same grace he extended to that woman in the temple courtyard is the same grace he extends to you right now in this moment. Neither do I condemn you. Those words were not just for her. They are for every person who has ever stood in the dirt of their own failure, wondering if God could still love them. He can. He does. He is not standing over you with a stone. He is kneeling in the dust, writing something in the ground and waiting for your accusers to leave, so he can look you in the eyes and tell you that you are free. But the story does not end with grace alone. It ends with a call. Go and sin no more. The grace of Jesus is not permission to keep living the same way. It is power to live differently. The same encounter that freed her from condemnation also called her to transformation. And that is always how genuine grace works. It does not leave us where it found us. It forgives us, and then it calls us forward into something better, something cleaner, something more whole, something that looks more and more like the life God designed us to live. There is also a word in this story for those of us who are sometimes more like the Pharisees than we want to admit. For those of us who have picked up stones of judgment against people in their worst moments, who have used other people's failures to feel better about our own lives, who have been more interested in being right than in being loving. Jesus' words to the crowd are words to us too. Let anyone who is without sin cast the first stone. Put the stone down. The person in front of you is not your opportunity to feel righteous. They are a human being made in the image of God going through their hardest moment. And the most Christ-like thing you can do is not throw what you are holding. It is to put it down and choose grace instead. If this story moved your heart today, please give this video a like and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that they are not beyond the grace of Jesus. Subscribe to Gentle Christ for powerful and honest Bible teachings every single week. And drop a comment below. Has there been a moment in your life where you felt like the woman in this story, caught and condemned and completely without hope, and then Jesus showed up? We would love to hear from you. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. God bless you deeply, and we will see you in the next video.